Welcome to the Moon Magic Tarot channel. Thank you, Super Souls, for joining me, and welcome back to those of you who are following my readings, and welcome to anyone new. Today's reading, we are asking, what is happening? What's going on? Where are you on your karmic pathway right now? And we're going to be using a lot of runes. I'm actually going to draw 5 runes for every reading to guide you in. I won't necessarily give you any information about them, but I'm just going to draw the 5 runes so that you can see them along with a card. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Okay. So we have 5 runes for each reading. We are using a lot of runes very specifically because runes are, in a way, I think it's like speed. Runes it's like we can speed dial your higher self. That's what I always feel with runes. So I'm going to draw these runes here and a card as well. There we go. That's the line of runes for reading number 1. Okay. This is the line of runes for reading number 2. Okay. I'll bring those down. I hope that's cool. You can see them all. And this is the rune, this is the line of runes for reading number 3. Okay. Okay. Now, there we go. Move those over. So this is going to be interesting to see how you lean into your intuition with this. And we'll draw a card as well. That is for reading 1. You have the card of in Capricorn. Okay, let me show that to you really closely. Okay. So we're placing your runes in Capricorn. I'm actually seeing already reading 2. This is the South Node. Let me bring you up the card so you can see that really clearly. And lastly, for reading number 3, oh, it's absolutely this card, in Virgo. Let me bring that up so you can see that really clearly. So these are our 3 readings for today. Sit with your intuition, press the pause button if you need a little bit longer. I will leave the video running just for a few moments. These readings are really tuning in to your karmic pathway, particularly via your higher self and the witness self within you, the part of you that is always connected to the karmic aspect of your journey and your unfolding pathway. Super Souls, I will put the timestamps in the information box below, and I will see you in the readings. Reading number 1, welcome. Now, the runes that have guided you in, we have the rune of harvest, we have the rune of breakthrough, we have the rune of defense, we have the rune of journey, and we have the rune of movement, all in the card of in Capricorn. So this is really, really interesting. Now, what we're going to do is place your runes in a very specific order. We're going to have like a little, almost like a little Celtic cross. I'm going to use these little counters just to position. In fact, I'm just going to put that bang in the middle of our reading, I think, here. So it's like a little kind of Celtic cross, and we are going to look at these runes in these positions very specifically. So your first rune is the rune of harvest. This is where you are right now. We are then looking at, what is taking place around you right now, and also what is about to then take place. So we've got this sort of turning point, the karmic point of now here, what's happening around you, where you are, what's going on, what's led you to here, and also then, you know, what is immediately about to be taking place. We're then looking at the kind of, this is almost like the north and south nodes. It's that karmic pathway, kind of what's going on from a karmic perspective. You know, what is going on unconsciously, what's been happening, what the learning is, and actually where this is going, where you're heading, what the purpose of this is, and what the outcome will be. So that's our positionings, reading number 1. Very specifically working in a very, I guess, a slightly different way to the way some of our readings work. Now, let me draw some oracle cards as well. Wow, cards are really lively for you, reading number 1. I'm just going to use this one card to use a second oracle card, definitely that one, and we'll draw some tarot cards as well. Seeing those and this one and more. Here we are, 1, 2, 3. Okay, lovely. Right, okay, let's look at your oracle cards. You have the sword. Very, very interesting. Oh, wow. And you have the Snow Shepherdess. This is a really, really interesting pair of cards. Can you see this in the, we have the sword cutting through. There's a black and, you know, coloured, like moving from dark to light. She has this staff kind of coming through her. This is someone who has come through a kind of a winter of some sort. And it's really speaking about almost like the impossible. It feels like the impossible is shifting to the possible. But my goodness me, there has been, you have worked really, really hard. I'm seeing a lot of energy in terms of working for something here. We have the harvest card here, bang in the middle, the harvest rune rather. So Super Souls, what I'm seeing is you have worked your socks off to, I almost want to say, this is like hard graft. You know, you've worked your socks off to even just like to hold your own. Okay. Now we are seeing a massive shift potentially here. We've got the breakthrough, the energy of breakthrough, but we also have the rune of defense. So the energy that's sitting around you, you right now are somebody you've worked solidly. You've really, I think you've really engaged with your kind of karmic pathway. You're one of those people who is very conscious of the karmic aspects of the world. I suspect you are an old soul, maybe even a starseed person. Starseed people are souls who've been around many times, and you know, they come here as a blank page in many ways. Obviously, we don't necessarily consciously arrive with the, you know, in our human way of where we've come from, but we're carrying the lessons that we've come from, the places we've come from, the learning, into situations where we're now going to, it's like those lessons are now going to be reactivated in the context of now. Anyway, let's not dive into that too much, but I'm drawing the astrology dice for you as well. We have Pluto, which is rebirthing, also an indication of past lives being present in your karmic pathway, and we have Taurus. Very interesting, because both Capricorn and Taurus, there's some real hard grafting going on, or there has been. You've worked so hard just to keep going, I think, actually. The energy of breakthrough is around you, but I don't think it's happened yet. Okay? It's almost like you've reached a space in your mind where you kind of know its potential. You know it is possible, and yet it hasn't quite happened yet. Okay, you're aware. You probably even have within you that sense of possibility. We're seeing, very interesting, the symbol of the rune of breakthrough. We're seeing I mean, there is no reverse to the symbol of breakthrough, and we're seeing this sort of division. We're seeing this here, this division here. The same with the Capricorn card, the imagery here. I think you work very, very, very hard to navigate difficult choices, maybe some difficult people. Let's see what our tarot cards are showing. You have 7 of chalices, okay. You have 3 of swords. And the Hanged Man, okay. This is very, very interesting. There are choices available to you at the moment. We've got the Rune of Breakthrough. We have the 9 of Wands. Oops. How interesting that dice just trickled over and it's still come up as Taurus. Yeah, some of you may even be a Taurus. Okay. We have 9 of Wands, 4 of Wands, and the Death card as well, which connects to Pluto. Transformation. Right. How fascinating. We have the Rune of Journey and the 4 of Wands, which is also in this, particularly in this pack, about journeying, about going on a journey and embarking on a new phase, a new time. The Hanged Man, being able to finally come out of the depths and above the water. 3 of Swords, laying something to rest finally. Okay, let's just really lean into the information from your higher self regarding your karmic pathway right now, where you are right now, to make sense of what has been happening, because this has not been easy. This grafting, this hard grafting, trying to keep your head above water, working really, really, really hard at a karmic level, facing challenges. I think you have faced not just one challenge in your life, but more than one. It's been, you know, more than one experience that has really been significantly hard to pick yourself up and keep going from. Okay, that's what I'm really seeing. And I need to say that, you know, that's just really, really, I think that is challenging, it's difficult, and yet I do believe you are actually very, very close to a point of harvest. It may not be with you yet, and I think you possibly will have that sense of that potential. What I feel like, you know, when we're on a tipping point where we really know that we're through something and we've come out the other side and we're really starting to get a feel of what we can practically, pragmatically do, and that the universe is working with us. And yet there's still stuff that's coming up that still almost like reminds you of where you've come from. It's like it reminds you of those challenges, those difficulties. Okay, let's have a look at your Capricorn card. Dedication to achieve, focusing on and resulting from rules imposed by Capricorn, the Capricorn energy. And Capricorn is actually quite an ambitious energy. Really is quite an ambitious, you know, it's that space where we strive to achieve something. Your goals, the day-to-day reality of this, use the most business-like way to move forwards. You see, I think you have been striving to achieve goals. I think you probably are a little bit of a hard taskmaster to yourself. You've grafted, you've worked, you've had goals that you wanted to achieve. And I feel like it's possibly felt as though every time you achieved something, something else then popped up and there was yet another challenge. Now, you know, I think you have a real sense of possibility. I do think you've actually achieved a lot in your world, reading number one. Genuinely, you've achieved a lot. In a sort of practical, pragmatic way. I mean, you've probably achieved, you know, some levels of personal success. You've perhaps, you know, acquired your life skills, or acquired your academic qualifications. You have actually along the way been acquiring kind of stuff to do with relationships as well, I think, to do with, you know, people skills, even leadership skills. People look to you sometimes, I think. But irrespective of those, the nature of those skills, what you are sitting in right here and right now is a kind of a karmic turning point. I think you've faced enough of the challenges for something to now reach a breakthrough moment. In a very real way, something is now about to move forwards. There is that shift. We're seeing a profound shift here. Not only do we have the breakthrough rune, we have the journeying rune beneath you, which is that sort of unconscious connection, the karmic pathway, and how it's going to evolve and move forwards is the rune of movement, the bettering of any situation, something gathering momentum. The place you are at the moment is to do with choices, seeing those choices, and it's almost like refinding your belief in the possibility. You kind of know it, but there is still a little bit of defensiveness. I'm still seeing you sometimes wavering. You know, you kind of have a taste of something or a flavour of something, and you think, well, that might be the right pathway to follow. You check it out, and then somehow you find yourself feeling, well, no, that didn't quite work out. And I do think there can be a bit of a swinging between. It's quite emotional, it's quite intense. I feel there's quite a lot of intenseness around choice for you at the moment. You kind of know you want change, and you range from thinking this will work out to sort of then a big reminder when something doesn't work out, and you're still working very hard on that pathway. This is actually a reading that is bringing reassurance actually to you. It is actually time to lay something to rest. So there is also something within you. Now, the rune of journey can speak of actual journeys, but it does also in the unconscious world speak of journeys within, where we systematically remove the obstacles that we end up creating for ourselves through our own defensiveness. This is about to emerge. You know it can emerge. There is now, there's a relinquishing of something. Your higher self and your karmic pathway are sort of saying, which is really interesting, even though you've been through some monumentally tough times, you've faced some major challenges, and not just one. The information today, your higher self, that direct dialing to your higher self is connected to the bigger picture. Your higher self is connected to your karmic pathway. Your higher self is the watcher from within. Your higher self is saying, look, you have actually had to go through this. I know it's been really hard. You had to sort of experience these things almost before you could take charge of your own choices. I think many of your challenges have been to do with feeling like there was a lack of entitlement, or you didn't have the right to have a voice, which has also resulted, when you've started to know that you really can and you really should, in this sort of also trying to navigate how to actually do that in real, practical, pragmatic terms. When we rebirth, when we realize, yes, I can have these choices. I have the right and the entitlement as much as anyone else to be able to be happy and, you know, find the right people, find the right job, have a quality of life that I desire. We reach that point of realization, of sort of inner knowing, And then we have to kind of work out how to implement it, because, you know, we haven't necessarily been born into a lifetime that would give you the skills. Part of the hard graft is that you've had to learn this, and you're now at that point of turn where you're learning how to make this completely real. It's almost like how to activate. It's like learning about the law of attraction and then working out how to actually do it. You know, learning how to have a voice, but learning how to have a voice in a way that will work for you. You know, if something's emotive, we can swing from having no voice to a complete and utter outburst, where people just react to the outburst. They don't react to the thing we're trying to say. I think sometimes, you know, that with people in my work as a counsellor, a therapist, I was a accredited counsellor for over 28 years, angry people often have a really valid point, but nobody listens to them. They just react to the anger. And actually, if we can teach an angry person how to be able to have a voice in a way that other people can hear what they're saying without the emotional content, then people then start to listen. Otherwise, they just see that person as an angry person. So they get involved in something, and people who don't have a voice often carry the weight of stuff that is unsaid from within them. Super souls, at this point in your karmic pathway, there is a turning point here whereby you are learning to do something differently, and it's the implementation of what you know into real terms, so that you can now create this rebirth in a genuine, real, solid way. This is the Capricorn energy. It's also the Taurus energy, and of course Taurus is wonderful showing up here in your reading, because, you know, with Taurus we can be very slow, we can be steady, or we can be like a bull in a china shop. You know, and the rebirth is really important, because it's the rebirth that creates the possibility, that shifts you from a space where stuff you thought was impossible is actually possible. You know, and it's you know, really, there's you know, the death card is beautiful in this position because it's a new dawn, and this is the time to embark on a new journey, a new phase of, literally, of manifestation. You've done the hard graft. The rune of movement confirms the gathering of momentum. It is literally, you're moving from one phase of testing, test after test after test, that could have really worn you down, and probably did actually from time to time, quite seriously. And now the rebirth energy is around. Your higher self is saying, look, this is, you know, you've done the work here. Now the next phase of work is to embrace the turning points, the recognition that you have, the knowledge, the awareness, and to make it real. Stuff may still come along that presses your buttons, tips you a little bit from one space to another, you know, where it tips you into some defensiveness. But this time now is about you learning to integrate your right to choose into real, practical, pragmatic ways of making it happen. You know, so that literally the past challenges are then put behind you. Beautiful reading, number one. It's a big period of time when this is happening. You know, I don't underestimate the power and strength of this kind of work. So I really want to honour your journey, and thank you for joining me. Do touch base with any of my other readings, as you know, I find readings are unbelievably helpful for grounding me in the moment, and also if I'm in a tipping point of holding hope, helping me to hold hope in that moment, to keep my vibration up at a point when in my humanness I'm sort of dissolving into the human aspects of things, because we are all human beings. You know, we are souls navigating a human life, and the human experience, including the challenges, is the space where we can elevate and raise consciousness to higher levels. And you know, this is the stuff that is really powerful work, because this is about making it real now. You know it, you conceptually understand it, you get it. Now it's time to make it real. Don't forget to subscribe, press the little bell icon if you'd like notification of any of my readings. Thank you to my Patreon people. There are people on Patreon who support all of my ongoing work. And it was through, I do tutorials for them every month. It was through the tutorial, the most recent tutorial of working with runes, that I thought, oh wow, I really need, you know, it was how to work with runes and making runes as well. And I just thought, oh, I'm going to do some readings that are rune centered. So here we are, Super Souls. I'm sending you all the love in the world. And I look forward to seeing you again for other readings. And thank you so much just for being a part of this amazing community, for liking, sharing, subscribing, and especially to those of you as well who give back through the super thanks in the comments. Tons and tons of love to you, reading number 1. Super Souls, welcome to reading number 2. We are working in a very different way with our runes today. With the 5 runes, we are placing them in very distinct positions. So rune number 1, you have the rune of constraint. This rune is where you are right now. We are now looking at the energy that's immediately around you, what's going on around you and what's about to happen. We have the rune of ice, and we have the rune of Othilla, separation. Okay, then we're looking at your kind of, you know, what's the karmic pathway here? I always think runes for me are like a speed dialing the higher self, the witness self. We have the rune of joy, and we have Hagelas, the rune of disruption. Now, we have your card, the South Node. Remember, reconsider. Now is not the time. The other sides, there will not be anxiety about trouble. Okay. This is interesting, your reading here. Right, the rune of constraint is around you, the energy of constraint. Something is not moving forwards for you right now, immediately. Now, I want to say there's purpose to this. It is connecting in some way to something that is going to be changing, leaving you. You've outgrown something. We'll draw some oracle cards and see what else we are shown, and indeed some tarot cards too. Yes. May we ask, what is happening with reading number 2? What's going on in their karmic pathway? What's happening around them right now at this moment in time? What can your higher self, your witness self, tell us about your journey? What's happening, and what's the purpose of it as well? You know, sometimes understanding the purpose is really helpful, because you kind of think, oh, okay, I get that now, you know. It sort of changes something. Okay, let's have a look and see what we have. Okay, so we have Kairos, and we have Blessing of the Kite Dancer. Okay. And I'm just going to throw your astrology dice too. Okay, you have Venus in Capricorn. Very interesting. You also have the 4 of Wands, the 2 of Wands, and the 3 of Swords. Really interesting energy around you here. You have the Wheel of Fortune, you have the 8 of Swords and the Devil. Okay. Right, my goodness me, the energy of something is going to shift around you, I think, reading number 2. But, something has to happen first. Reading number 2. There is timing involved in your reading. The stuff that's going on around you, it is very clear that something isn't moving forwards. and that something has to change or kind of be let go of before you can actually realize something. When I say realize, I mean like making it real, as opposed to be, I suppose it could also be realize something, be aware of something. Now, this reading is many layered, so let's go through those layers for you. There's definitely some kind of a challenge around you. There's something that you want, desire, that's for sure. Absolutely, you really do want it, you really do desire it, and you are also capable of it, okay? There's a lot of ambition. There's stuckness around you. Okay, let me just grab. Isn't it interesting, reading number 2? I'm almost feeling ungrounded in the energy of your reading, and yet at the same time it feels as if it's slightly stuck, it's restricted, as if things aren't moving forwards, but almost as if maybe they're not moving forwards due to some aspect of anxiety. There's something you would really want, maybe you're having trouble owning it. Yeah, look at this. Anxiety about, there will not be anxiety about trouble. But I think there probably is anxiety. There's something in your reading that says, look, you know, a shift can occur. I think there's a lot of fear of change here. That's what I'm really seeing. There's a lot of fear of change, even though you really want it. Okay. Hagalaz is a rune that says sometimes it's like it wakes us up, the energy of Hagalaz, and this is the pathway ahead here. This is your karmic pathway, so your witness self, your higher self, which the runes are absolutely connected with. You see again the witness self, the I of Kairos, who says timing is really important. You'll know what to do, you'll know what to say. It's like a divine timing. Hagalaz is actually you're being woken up. That's really what I'm saying here. You're being woken up to something. There is a potential within you. I think you have a sense of what that potential is. Some of you will be very clear about it, others won't. But you still have a sense that there's purpose, there's meaning, there's something you should be going for. And yet somehow you are tangled in something that blocks you from being able to reach it. Circumstances may have rocked up around you that have caused you to feel that you can't step into something or step into your fullest potential. And yet, ironically enough, your witness self is saying, well, look, actually, there is karmic and divine timing around this. Part of your journey, your soul's journey here, is to learn to be able to step up, to face limitations in some way, shape or form. Venus in Capricorn. I'm curious that we have the rune of joy here. I do want to say this is, the joy is sitting in your kind of unconscious realms. It's connected to your pathway and what's being shaken up here. Separation often occurs to, and it can occur to literally real estate, moving house, but we're talking about big shifts here. I feel like you are needing to move away from something that is currently restricting you, holding you back, limiting your horizons. I do actually also want to say, I just think there's been loss around you. Something you thought, even something you kind of almost thought you had it, and then it was it's sort of almost dissipated or vanished or into thin air. Something you thought, You know, in relationship, it could have been someone you thought was the one and then it didn't work out. You know, some situation got bound up in sort of trouble and anxiety. And I think you're still living with the restrictive energy that came from that. Now, what the Rune of Constraint also tells us to do in a really powerfully good way is to sort of, it says when fishermen can't go to sea, they mend their nets. So this reading is like you becoming an observer of you. It's an invitation for you to connect to the witness self within and to know that there actually was and is a bigger picture. It's time to face up to something here. It's time to step up to something here. There is something within you, a contribution to make. And if there is disruption in your life at the moment, you may be stuck and restricted. I mean, the runes are just fascinating for you, reading number 2, because we have ice, which is really can feel very stuck. I mean, sometimes ice tells us to stop, but I am actually seeing this as there is a sense of stuckness around you that connects to having to leave something behind or let something go. It's like to admit that you have outgrown a situation. To admit that, oh, do you know what, Super Souls? Looking at this little Venus sign. Yeah, for some of you, there is a very big connection to some aspect of relationship. Do you know, when I just said, do you know what, Super Souls? I looked down here and I saw the cross beneath the Venus almost as an arrow, just the angle I'm looking at. And I thought, oh, wow, is this actually Mars and not Venus? And then I picked it up and I can see, yeah, no, this is definitely Venus. But when I saw this at a particular angle, and I don't know whether I can actually show that to you, but when you kind of tip it into that direction, it starts to look like Mars. And that's why I went, oh, you know, I suddenly saw it differently. Okay. Mars is full of get up and go energy. Mars is passion. It can be frustration, it can be passion, but it's fiery stuff. It's moving things forward. I saw something in a different way here. I saw something that was, you know, Venus is about beauty, love, harmony. And then I suddenly saw it as Mars, fire, passion, frustration sometimes. Something that you saw in a particular way or have viewed in a particular way, something that you thought was ideal, you are discovering it's not ideal. And actually something that you thought would be right for you, you've tried it on for size, it's not right for you. Or if it was right for you, I mean, Othilla says it was right for you at that time, but it's not in this position, it's not right for you anymore. So whatever it is, there is a need to really step up in this reading. Because it's almost like you buried your joy a little bit. You buried your joy, you suppressed something got, and the suppression of something is keeping you, it's like it's keeping you in the dark almost. It's stopping you from, it's causing anxiety, it's keeping you in a place of trouble. Now remember, reconsider, rethink the situation, okay? That's your witness self, your higher self is saying, look, you know, reconsider, be an observer of you. Don't hold an idealized perspective on something that's going on. See the real perspective. You know, Capricorn energy is beautifully solid and real. Capricorn energy is very pragmatic. I have some wonderful, a couple of wonderful Capricorn friends, and they're so solid and you know, when they say how it is, you get the solid perspective of what the way that they see it in a clear manner. This is a time for you to remember, to reconsider. This is not the time to dissolve yourself into anxiety about the fact that something hasn't worked out. It's the right moment in time to actually free yourself from that anxiety, to shift your perspective, not to tie yourself into something that kind of, that basically has reached its natural end, okay? It's reached its natural end. It's come to its natural conclusion. You've done that bit. It's time to bring a chapter to a close. Everything in your reading says it's time to step up, not step down. And for some of you, stuff will be going on that will be shaking your world up. For some of you, that shaking up will feel like circumstances are happening to push you out of your comfort zone. For others, it will feel like the energy around you is so restrictive, you just recognize you can't carry on this way. You can't do it anymore. There's a need to liberate yourself. You know, in this Devil card, these figures down here that are held by the little cords, they can cut those cords at any time. They are free. They don't have to be tied to the dance of Pan. They can actually cut the cords and go dance somewhere else, go and dance to a different rhythm, sing a different song. Eight of Swords is about overcoming those kind of inner demons. The timing here to the Wheel of Fortune, fate, destiny, the timing is right for you to break free from something now. Something that didn't work out, or it ended. It wasn't that it was wrong, but it's run its course. That's the feel of this. I really want to say, even if it was difficult, challenging, it was also quite good. I mean, that's the interesting thing. It wasn't one of those situations where you get into something and think, how did I get into this? I'm not saying that flavour wouldn't be there, but this reading is much more about something that was really good that didn't work out. So it was never all bad. It didn't work out. There was a lot of good experiences, or something that you thought you could celebrate. It was what you'd wanted or wished for. Something didn't continue. You know, it was interrupted. And now is the time to shift away from the space of anxiety around it. And yeah, you've outgrown the residue of this situation. You've grown out of it. It's time to move beyond it and to let it go, to cut the cords, but to face your fears because it's suppressed your joy. Reading number 2, the karmic message is very clear here. It's time to move forwards. You have something to offer. Blessing of the Kite Dancer, you have something to offer. You have something to bring forth into the world. You have a contribution to make that requires you to move beyond where you are in order to become the biggest, best version of you and to make your greatest contribution. And circumstances are such at the moment that you are needed to step up and out of that space where you are still clinging potentially to something that, you know, it did stop you in your tracks, I think, for some of you. But, you know, we're seeing it's time for the dam to break and for things to move forwards, to step up. Find it fascinating, this shift of perspective where I saw Venus change into Mars. You know, really, oh, my apologies, something going on in my computer there. I don't know if you can see that, but that really struck me in your reading. It's that point of realization that something that you thought you really wanted to hold on to forever is no longer serving you or didn't work out. I'm not going to say any more, I would just be waffling. Reading number 2, don't forget to subscribe and press the little bell icon to get notification of any of my readings. I want to say a big special thank you to my Patreon people, because I do a tutorial for them on learning to read the runes, the cards, oracle cards every month, and this month it was reading the runes, and it was exactly tuning into your tutorial that made me really want to do some rune focused readings, which I will probably continue with. They really do dial in to your higher self, the witness self. You know, your karmic pathway right now, reading number 2, is stepping up and moving, letting go of something that no longer serves you, a place, you know, an inner attitude to something, a connection to something. I will say no more. The message has been voiced. Super souls, thank you. So thank you so much, Patreon people, for inspiring these readings, and thank you to all of you for just being a part of this amazing community here on YouTube of Moon Magic. And thank you to all of you who give back through the super thanks. You are very appreciated. Well, you are all appreciated. It goes without saying. You are amazing. Thank you for being a part of this beautiful online community. Don't forget to check in with any of the other readings that may be of help to you. Tons and tons and tons of love. And yeah, post in the comments if you come back to this reading at any time. Do let us know how this emerges and evolves for you. Super souls, tons and tons of love to you. Welcome, reading number 3. We are reading your runes and cards in a slightly different way today. So your first rune, the rune of Gateway, it's very interesting. I actually put this out in reverse, which is fascinating. So I'm going to keep it in that position because that's kind of how it arrived. This is the rune of Gateway. This positioning here of this rune is where you are right now. We're then looking at the energy around you. What is the recent past? What's happening around you? And what's about to happen in the immediate future? You have the rune of signs, signals, synchronicities, and you have the rune of partnership. We're then looking at your kind of karmic pathway here. We have the rune of the self sitting in the unconscious realms, the sort of karmic pathway, and then we're looking at how this is going to emerge, evolve, the way forwards. We have the rune of strength. We also then have methods. This is your card of Virgo. Methods for the healing power, the analysing of things resulting from perfectionism. This is interesting, this energy. The other side, the shadow, well, it's not really a shadow side, these are all attributes of Virgo. The serving of others, your service, the details. I mean, perfectionism can be a problem with Virgo energy, and yet Virgo energy attends to the details in a magnificent way. Do what you must do. So let's draw some additional cards, and then we will dive into the messages, particularly from your runes. Runes really do kind of speed dial your higher self. They are totally connected to the witness self within you, and marvelous for karmic readings. So let us have a little look. Let's draw some tarot cards as well. I'm actually seeing this card and this one. Okay, let's have a look and see what we have here, because the rune of Gateway in reverse is interesting. Where are you right now? The rune of Gateway actually suggests that we need to, or we are in a place where we've kind of pressed the pause button. We're evaluating, we're reviewing, and you have signs, signals, synchronicities around you. That's what's been lots of, this is in the immediate past. So we are seeing, you've been seeing and receiving a lot of guidance. We see the rune of partnership coming into your world. Someone coming in some way, shape or form in quite an immediate and fast way. We have the riddle. Oh, this is interesting. And we have fearless. Okay, let's put your card, the riddle, there. fearless here, and I want to throw the astrology dice for you too. How interesting. You have the Virgo dice here. Okay, Uranus in Virgo. Oh, wowza. So Uranus is like the great awakener. Okay, so Uranus makes things happen. Uranus brings sudden and unexpected changes, all to wake you up, especially karmically. The rune of the self is in your unconscious place, your karmic position. Wow. The rune of the self, it's like there's something being mirrored to you. Something is being shown to you. Signs are being shown to you. And they're coming to you to wake you up in some way, shape or form. They're coming to empower you. We have the rune of strength. I always feel when I get the rune of strength in a reading, it's like the universe has your back. And yet there is a riddle going on around you. Maybe you have been a little bit tangled in your own mind. You know, when we overanalyze stuff. The rune of Gateway, yes, in reverse. The rune of Gateway is that moment of pause in its really most beautiful position. The rune of Gateway says, right, let's press the pause button. Let's kind of meditate. Let's get involved in the here and now. And let's look at what's going on and then look back over everything that's led us to where we are today, so that we, with full awareness, especially full awareness of the learning, can then choose to step through the gateway with, we've integrated the learning in a place of gratitude for everything. Do you know, this is fascinating. So there is a rook actually sitting in the tree in front of me, right outside my window. And he's really hesitant, which is unusual because rooks, generally speaking, are pretty confident, forward birds. They often kind of scare away other birds. And yet he is really, I can't tell whether he's being reticent or remarkably respectful for a rook. I mean, I love all the birds that visit my garden. There are little birds feeding. He's actually like, it's almost like he's an overviewer of something. He's definitely, and I have crows that come in. This is not a crow, it's a rook. Gosh, he's very mindful. This is interesting to see, such mindfulness. They are, honestly, they're like, normally they arrive, hordes of them, and they're like a bunch of adolescents. It's kind of like, but actually, I mean, really, truly, they all toss each other out of the way and they throw the food all over the place. And, you know, they kind of have fun, but in a really bolshy kind of way. This guy is super mindful. Right, this is super mindful. Right, and this is in reverse. So you're either not seeing the signs, or you've been given some signs and you haven't read them clearly, or you've seen signs and you've got into that space of being over analytical. You know, when we're looking at signs and we get over analytical to the point where we can sort of tie ourselves in knots. Okay, let's look at your tarot cards. 8 of Chalices. Oh, wow. I mean, this is a whirlwind. This is like, yeah, a whirlwind of energy around you. Gosh, look at this, reading number 3. We have the Star. What a beautiful star card this is. Stuff is coming into your world to ignite you. Okay. And the Magician. What a beautiful Magician card. Okay. Karmically, stuff is coming into your world to ignite you, to fire you up, to bring passion to the fore. Okay. Let's look at these cards before I say any more. We have the Hierophant, we have the 3 of Cups, and we have the 4 of Swords. Your reading number 3 is becoming very, very clear. And it connects to, excuse me, it connects to partnerships and relationships here, particularly to other people. Very specific people is what I want to say. You know, on a karmic level. Very, very specific people. People who live differently to you. It's like, or hold a very different perspective of life. From a karmic perspective, I think these are people also, I think, who honestly have tied you in knots. Yeah. These are people that people have come into your life who have caused a lot of disruption. You honestly have struggled, I think, to work out how to handle the impact of these people. You know, at a karmic level, you may well have known these people before. Okay. And what they are, in a way, mirroring to you is almost like the most difficult aspects of, I think, of humanity in many ways. We all have the capacity to behave badly. It's part of the human condition. We also all have a choice. These are the kind of people that cause you to want to retaliate. Now, what is really interesting here? Strength is above you and ahead of you. The universe has your back. Signs, signals, synchronicities. These people may have caused you to struggle in terms of, you know, the kind of people that just render you quite helpless, because you kind of realize whatever you say and whatever you do, it'll never be good enough, and they're still going to go off and do their own thing anyway. They're the kind of people you can't influence or affect for the better, even if you would really want to. Okay, they literally tangled you in knots. They've caused you to do a lot of soul searching, though. And the witness self within is actually saying to you, I do think you may have known some of these people before in a past life. And I would certainly say to you, you've also met people who carried those traits in a past life. These people have, ironically enough, been coming back into your life in this lifetime. They're actually teaching you a degree of discernment, but it's been really complex to work through how to navigate these kind of people. There may still even be some people like this in your world. They are disruptive. They cause you often to be full of self-doubt. They're the kind of people who don't take responsibility for their own actions or the outcome of their own actions. And then when they meet people, the people that they affect go away and think that they're probably in the wrong. Now, I think you are at a point of awareness where I think you sort of know that you can't necessarily affect change in those other people. You know, with some people we really can sit down and have a conversation and the whole thing can be moved on beautifully. These are the kind of people who can't. You're investing energy in something that isn't going to change. I do actually feel that this is a time to move beyond them. It's like that recognition, the coming to terms with what the impact of certain individuals have had on you, and within that recognition and within your own discernment and your own, I think you have a very deep level of your own awareness here. This mirroring going on here. The self is like the rune of joy, split down the middle and mirrored. So they've mirrored all kinds of aspects, including, I think, aspects of past lives, where some of you will be familiar with past lives. I've done a past life reading. I may well do another, actually. I may well do another. I'll put that on my list. You're resolving stuff in this lifetime that connects to relationships that have been dominated, I think, by power, or let's say the inappropriate the misuse of power. That connects to past lives, and you have been processing this stuff through relationship, partnership in this lifetime as well. And that is what your witness self is observing and saying to you. You've kind of been here before with these kinds of people, but I think in previous lifetimes, you were not actually able to exert any potential power. I think you were absolutely helpless, potentially, in those relationships where there was the misuse of power. Almost you were obliged to serve others without any potential acknowledgement, validation, reward. I mean, it was a misuse of power. And because of the legacy, you may even in this lifetime have been born into a family whereby the genetic lineage would align to some aspect of misuse of power. And you're therefore, you've come into this lifetime even within a genetic line that is ultimately has given you something of the embodiment of something for you to process through. Now, that's not an easy pathway at a level of soul. What I am seeing is this processing, the disruption, the learning not to blame yourself, the learning that you have the right to choose, potentially also to challenge fears. You know, it's incredibly traumatic to be helpless at the hands of someone else, especially someone else who maybe doesn't have a conscience, who isn't balanced. Part of your karmic pathway here in this lifetime and right now is about untangling that riddle. And what I am seeing, which is super lovely here, reading number 3, is disruption, awaken. You know, Uranus is the great awakener. I'm seeing a level of awareness that allows you, signs, signals, synchronicities coming in. I mean, this is like a validation. I don't think you have to pause anymore. I think you can actually walk through the gateway. I think you understand the past. You understand the implications of the past. There is a whirlwind of energy coming into your life at the moment. Passion rising. Fearlessness, boldness, the sort of, do you know what, I'm not having this anymore. Discernment. Also the choice to not be tangled in other people's drama. We're seeing hope coming through. We're seeing alchemy, transformation, and it's like this ability for you to remain centered even in the face of these kinds of people, to no longer be buffeted around by them. It's very difficult not to be reactive to receive the kind of packages of emotions that these kinds of people put out through their actions, their words, their behaviors, even their thoughts, you know. Very hard not to be affected by people like this. It's almost as if your witness self is saying, look, part of your journey here is that you came here to kind of keep your strength even and to remain solidly yourself through and through to the core, even in the face of people like this, which then means you are free to engage in relationships that fire you up. You're free to engage in relationships where your passions are met, but in a positive, healthy way, rather than passion rising in a manner that is just angry and resentful and hurt. I mean, the root of being hurt by people. It's like you're able to develop your own inner strength here. This is the path you're now on. You've experienced these things. I feel like it's time to come out of your cave. In a funny way, these people did sort of mentor you in a really difficult way. Okay, you know, when we meet people who tie us in knots. I think that you are now at a point, your witness self is saying, look, the universe now has your back. You can rise. This is your time. You're now able to read the signs. If you meet someone, they're pretty self-interested, or you pick up on it really easily now, and you can now make much clearer choices. You can get still, but it's not an epic, I have to stop, stand still, review my entire past. Well, you know all that. It's kind of like that's integrated. You are now a solid human being. You have the awareness. You don't need to pick yourself to pieces and feel if something doesn't work out, it's your fault. Because I think there's been a tendency for that. And that's what then ties you in knots internally. This is a time of awakening for you, but it's an awakening which is empowering. You can understand how to be of service, but not at the expense of yourself. You can understand how to bring your karmic contribution, how to be connected to others in a beautifully giving way within relationship, but without you relinquishing your own needs. This is the turning point that you are now at karmically. And this is now about experiencing relationships in a completely different way. You're able to be present within a relationship, to be yourself within relationship. You may in previous relationships have almost automatically sidelined yourself in order to accommodate the needs of the other person, or and this is, and then felt if it went wrong it was your fault. This is a turning point for you. You can move forwards fearlessly, and what you have been addressing actually are karmic patterns of not only previous generations but of your own previous lives and your own previous experiences where you experienced some form of servitude in a manner that gave you no option, really. All choices removed. And in a way, this is quite new to you to discover how real passion can be experienced in a positive, healthy way. But you are able to now, you're now able to come out of the cave, as it were. These relationships did, ironically enough, bring you guidance in some very difficult ways, but they really did. And it is now time for you to, there is a whirlwind of energy coming in here, of change, of potential, of strength, of new beginnings, of new opportunities, of hope. This is a really, really beautifully hopeful reading for you, reading number 3. And with the Magician here, it's like now you can be an active participant in manifesting, healthy, loving, balanced relationships. 4 of Swords is a card of balance. You can be mindful in the moment. That reactivity, you can feel the experience of people, but you know what to do with it. You can choose, you can be discerning. The experience of others who disempower people, you're not afraid of them. You're wary. That was the Rook coming into the garden there. You are wary, you are mindful. But my goodness me, that's appropriate. Yeah, you can handle this now. And therefore there is a new set of signs, signals, coming in. I sort of feel this energy around you of this cross is really beautiful. I think your witness self is saying to you, look, the signs and the signals and the synchronicities are present for you to really now build on your own inner strength in terms of who you are, especially who you are in relationship to others. Reading number 3, that this is a remarkable turning point for you, and I'm I can see that this is showing such a level of karmic information coming through for previous lives, genetic lineage as well. I'm not going to say any more. I feel I will just be waffling, and I know I have a bit of a tendency to do that sometimes in readings, but I do get very passionate about the messages that come through, and particularly when I see soul work taking place at this kind of level, because it's what humanity needs if we're ever really going to shift and live differently and live respectfully, not just with ourselves but with all of life and our beautiful planet. We've got to create shifts and changes in relationships and move away from power orientated relationships. So really, fantastic to be connecting with all of you. Don't forget to subscribe and press the little bell icon so you get notification of every reading as I post it. Thank you so much. I want to say a special thank you to Patreon people, because it was the Patreon people who support my work ongoing. I do a tutorial for them every month with some aspect of learning to read the runes, the cards, and this month it was learning to read the runes and make your own runes as well. And because of that, it really inspired me to do some rune orientated readings. I will do some more as well, because they're really magical. Runes really do speed dial your higher self, the witness self. They bring a whole other level of meaning to the readings. So thank you, because it was you know, connecting to you through Patreon that really inspired these readings. Thank you to all of you for being a part of this beautiful community here online, the Moon Magic Tarot channel, and thank you all of you who are giving back through the super thanks. You are really appreciated. Super souls, well, you guys are appreciated really big time for this level of soul work. Tons and tons of love to you, and I look forward to seeing you in my next reading.